Hello and welcome to another episode of Horror According to Chris Wyatt. Today's movie is Hocus Pocus. Alright, no timer for this one. I imagine I'll be going over a minute. And I guess we should get this out of the way. I do realize that Hocus Pocus isn't really a horror film. It's more of a family adventure comedy with a Halloween theme. Though it does have some horror elements in it. I mean, it's about witches, spells, dark magic. It takes place on Halloween. It has zombies in it. There are references to Satan and hell. And the witch's plan is to kidnap and kill children. There's even a scene where you see one of the kids killed on screen. Huh. You know, I was about 6 when this movie first came out. When my mom took my brother and I to see it, she absolutely hated it. I didn't really get why at the time, but now, yeah, I get it. Anywho, the movie takes place in the early 90s in Salem, Massachusetts, where a teen boy accidentally revives 3 17th century witches, played by Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, who return to resume their work of preying on the town's children. Hocus Pocus wasn't a huge hit at the time of its release, but it's gone on to build a cult following and has become something of a Halloween staple. Is it good though? Kinda, sorta. Listen, I know a lot of people adore this film, so I'm not trying to step on any toes, but yeah, this is a flawed movie, no question about that. The premise does have merit, though tonally the film is a bit all over the place. At times it embraces its very dark content, at times it's a typical kids movie, and at times it's a slapstick comedy. Not saying combining those genres can't work, but with Hocus Pocus, it's not exactly seamless. The direction isn't exactly spot on either. Future High School Musical director Kenny Ortega was the filmmaker behind this one, and it's clear that he was still refining his craft. No pun intended. I mean, he does infuse the film with orange and blacks and all kinds of fun thrift store themed Halloween decorations, which does get one into the Halloween spirit, but balancing tones and styles wasn't something he had completely figured out yet. Also, the whole idea of there actually being witches in Salem, when in reality it was a bunch of innocent people that were killed, a bit insensitive, I suppose, but yeah. The main protagonists are serviceable enough, but nothing special. Though there is a cat, who's really a dude that was cursed by the witches in the 1600s. That's a cool idea. Oh, and Doug Jones is Billy the Zombie. You know Doug Jones, right? He was the Fawn in Pan's Labyrinth, Abe Sapien in Hellboy, the Silver Surfer, and he's on the new Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, he's awesome. It does underutilize Charles Rocket, though. That guy was a seriously underrated comedic talent who died way too soon. The effects hold up surprisingly well for an early 90s movie. Again, not perfect, but better than you usually get from that era. And those 3 witches are pretty damn entertaining, I'll admit that. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are 3 ridiculously talented comedic actresses, and even if the script doesn't give them nearly enough funny material, their go-for-broke performances do pick up a lot of that slack. It does seem like Bette Midler stepped in from a campier and more interesting movie, but still, can't argue with what works.
That we must find the book, brew the potion, and suck the lives out of the children of Salem before sunrise. Otherwise it's curtains. We evaporate. We cease to exist.
It also doesn't hurt that she sings a very entertaining cover of I Put a Spell on You.
I put a spell on you, and now you're gone. My planet fell on you, and it was strong. So strong.
Putting aside my critical lenses, the movie can be a lot of fun. I mean, the script really isn't that witty or clever most of the time, which is a shame because there's a lot to work with here, but somehow that's not really a huge problem most of the time. This is a tough one. I grew up watching this movie and I loved it as a kid, and although I can't say it holds up, I can see why people still like it. It's goofy, it's over the top, and it's kind of a mess, but it's a fun mess. It's cinematic junk food. It's a huge bucket of Halloween candy, if you will. There's nothing even remotely nutritious about it, but if you're looking for a fun sugar rush of a film around the Halloween season, Hocus Pocus is just that. I'll be generous and give it 3 stars out of 5. Okay then, time to choose another. Through them, got one, and the film is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.